Liverpool transfer news as Stars exit funds new signing amid Mark Guehi update. Liverpool transfer news as the Reds land their seventh signing of the summer and sanction another departure while their pursuits of Alexander Isach and Mark Guehi continue to rumble on. Liverpool are still hopeful of signing Mark Guehi this summer. Liverpool's season is underway, but there are still a number of loose ends to tie up in the transfer market, including the saga of the summer. The Reds confirmed their seventh signing of the summer as Giovanni Leoni's switch from Parma was rubber-stamped to provide some much-needed backup in defense after Jarell Quansah's departure several weeks ago. Almost completely offsetting that cost, winger Ben Doak is set to head out of Anfield to join Bournemouth. But with just over a fortnight until the transfer window closes, Liverpool's business may not stop there. With more arrivals expected on Merseyside with the futures of Alexander Isach and Mark Guehi still up in the air. Here is our verdict on the latest transfer gossip. Reds land Leoni amid Guehi update. Liverpool's new 6'4" in centre-back, Giovanni Leoni has arrived at Anfield. The 18-year-old completed his $35.2 million, £26 million switch and said, "It's a really great sensation and I'm honored to be here. When I saw Liverpool were interested, I said, wow, this is crazy. I'm very happy. Liverpool have signed Giovanni Leoni from Parma, and Mark Guehi may not be far behind if the comments of Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner are anything to go by. I've been in the football business for too long," Glasner said, "so I know that at any time of any day, things can happen." Guehi is expected to start Palace's opener at Chelsea on Sunday, however, with the deal seemingly still no closer at this stage. Liverpool.com says, Leoni looks a great addition and will help provide necessary backup while offering plenty of potential for the future. Ultimately, Liverpool still look a little light in defense if they're hit by injuries, and the club should push to seal a deal for Guehi. If that means meeting Palace's $54.2 million, £40 million valuation, it would still be good business. Doak heading for Bournemouth. Liverpool winger Ben Doak is joining Bournemouth in a $33.8 million, £25 million deal. Ben Doak is joining Bournemouth. The winger was withdrawn from the Reds' matchday squad before last night's match against the Cherries ahead of his move. Once considered a potential heir to Mohamed Salah, Doak had plenty of potential suitors following his successful loan spell at Middlesbrough last season, but Bournemouth edged out Porto and Stuttgart for his signature. Liverpool.com says, Doak is a talented player, but suggestions he could replace Salah were always far-fetched and arguably a little unfair. Liverpool have better options available, and a move to Bournemouth in the same way as Harry Wilson is the perfect opportunity for Doak to play regularly and further his career. The fact his sale pretty much covers the fee for Leoni is another fine example of Richard Hughes and company working their magic. Isach out of Newcastle opener. The saga continues. Alexander Isach will not play for Newcastle against Aston Villa. And in a surprise to no one, Alexander Isach will not feature in Newcastle's opening Premier League fixture at Aston Villa on Saturday. But the Reds appear no closer to agreeing a deal to sign the Swedish striker. Toon boss Eddie Howe said, "We do have to forget about Isach. He's not here with us. I want him to play. I want him to train." Alex's situation has been unchanged for a while, and that will continue to be the case. Newcastle are exploring the prospect of signing PSG striker Gonçalo Ramos, though, according to the Mail, which would help move things along. Liverpool.com says, Isach continuing his strike was inevitable. Realistically, Newcastle aren't going to sell Liverpool their best player before the two sides meet on August 25th. Liverpool are clearly biding their time, knowing the closer the transfer deadline gets, the more desperate Newcastle will be to sell. But it also won't be done unless the Toon line up another striker. This one will probably go right to the wire. Liverpool are clearly biding their time, knowing the closer the transfer deadline gets, the more desperate Newcastle will be to sell. But it also won't be done unless the Toon line up another striker. This one will probably go right to the wire. Andy Carroll makes feelings clear on Alexander Isak's conduct over Liverpool transfer. Alexander Isach could follow Andy Carroll's footsteps in leaving St. James Park behind to move to Anfield in a club record transfer for Liverpool. But the former Newcastle striker insists their situations are very different. Alexander Isach is still on strike at Newcastle as he pushes for a move to Liverpool. Andy Carroll has criticized Alexander Isach for trying to force a move to Liverpool and says the striker has burned his bridges with Newcastle fans. Isach has gone on strike and will not be involved in Newcastle's opening Premier League fixture against Aston Villa on Saturday, as he has made it clear he wants to complete a move to Anfield. Liverpool has had one bid rejected for the Swedish international, but that offer did not come close to Newcastle's valuation, and the clubs remain at a standoff. Carroll, 36, played for both clubs after Liverpool spent a club record $47.4 million, £35 million, to sign him in 2011. But the Newcastle-born forward later returned to St. James Park and insisted he never wanted to join Liverpool in the first place, unlike one-away Isach. Being from Newcastle, I didn't really want to leave. Didn't want to go. I wanted to stay. And it was tough when I did go, Carroll told Sky Sports. But Isach's not from Newcastle, so he can act like he's acting now and think it's acceptable. It's a big move for him. The way he's playing his cards at the minute, the Newcastle fans are not going to back him. He's not going to help himself. And it's a shame because he's such a good player and every Newcastle fan wants him to stay. The manager wants him to stay. It's not really the same as me because it's not his club. The Geordies took him in and made him one of their own, but when he wants to go, that's his mind changed. Andy Carroll says he never wanted to leave Newcastle for Liverpool. Liverpool's opening offer for Isach of £110 million plus £10 million in add-ons was turned down by Newcastle, who value their star man at close to £150 million. Isach refused to go on Newcastle's pre-season tour of Asia, citing a thigh injury, instead training former club Real Sociedad. Since his return to Newcastle, the 25-year-old has been training alone, and boss Eddie Howe admitted Isach would not be selected for the clash at Villa, despite him wanting his striker on the field. Howe said, "We do have to forget about Isach. He's not here with us. We have to focus on who is here and get the best out of them. The players are aware he's not here. The focus will be on each player playing to the best of their ability. I want him to play. I want him to train. I've had those conversations with Isach, but the details of those will remain private. There is no change to the situation. All my focus has been on the training, Aston Villa, and the transfer front in terms of getting players in. That is all consuming for me. Alex's situation has been unchanged for a while, and that will continue to be the case." Newcastle are still seeking a viable replacement for Isach, with the Mail reporting. The Northeast club are still exploring the possibility of a deal for Paris Saint-Germain's Goncalo Ramos. The Magpies are not under pressure to sell, with Isach still under a contract for another 3 years. But Newcastle fans have already made clear they do not want Isach at the club, and failure to strike a deal with Liverpool before the transfer deadline on September 1st would ultimately leave Howe with a player who does not want to be there. In what appeared an attempt to tug on Isach's heartstrings, Howe said, "Me and Alex have enjoyed a great relationship. I don't think he would have done as well as he has done without that, without his teammates, without the supporters. He is a highly intelligent person, and he knows he wouldn't have had the success he's had without everybody connected with Newcastle." Alexander Isach is continuing to push for a move to Liverpool in the summer transfer window, and it is now claimed Newcastle are set to find the Sweden international. Liverpool had their opening offer for Alexander Isach turned down. Newcastle United are reportedly set to impose a club fine on striker Alexander Isach should he miss the opening match of the Premier League season, as he seeks to engineer a move to Liverpool. The Sweden international could face financial penalties as his refusal to play for the Magpies comes to a head in their clash with Aston Villa. Isach has been pushing for a transfer to Liverpool this summer and hasn't trained with Eddie Howe's first team since they embarked on their preseason tour of Asia. The forward has been training separately from his teammates who helped secure the club's Champions League qualification last season. Liverpool have already had a bid turned down by Newcastle this summer. Initially, the Magpies insisted that the forward was not up for sale, and it's not anticipated that the Reds will make another offer unless given some encouragement. However, Isach isn't ready to give up on his dream move just yet, and has claimed that he won't play for Newcastle again, regardless of how things unfold over the coming weeks. This defiant stance could lead to the 25-year-old being punished. Amid the ongoing standoff, the former Real Sociedad star continues to receive his weekly wages of £140,000. No fine has been levied yet, despite his declaration that he won't play for the club. According to Mail Online, via the Mirror, Newcastle's approach is expected to change once Isach misses a competitive match, at which point disciplinary action will be taken. The Magpies kick off their Premier League campaign with a trip to Aston Villa this weekend. Isach's position is said to be steadfast, with concerns that any softening of his stance would only embolden Newcastle into thinking a compromise can be reached, thereby quashing any hopes of a transfer. Despite edging closer to signing Yoane Wissa, the St. James Roller Park outfit have yet to find an adequate replacement for their main striker. Howe has admitted that the current predicament has thrown a spanner in his squad's preseason preparations. "I think morale was certainly affected early on during preseason," he confessed. "There was nothing I could do to affect that it was always going to be there. When you have a player that good who is not part of your group, it's difficult for the players to fully understand it and to know what's going on and how to react." But as time has gone on, there has been an acceptance that this is the squad, and we have got to make the best of the situation. That's always been my train of thought. Whatever situation you're in, you have got to find a way, and you can only control what you can control. We have moved forward, and I've got to say the atmosphere of the group has been very good in the last couple of weeks. Shocking behavior, Ian Wright slams Alexander Isach. Over £150 million, Liverpool transfer. Push, shocking behavior, Ian Wright slams Alexander Isach. Over £150 million, Liverpool transfer push. Arsenal legend. Ian Wright has blasted Newcastle United striker Alexander Isach for his conduct as speculation mounts over a potential £150 million move to Liverpool. The 25-year-old has downed tools at St. James's Park, with several reports suggesting he is adamant he will never play for Newcastle again. Liverpool are understood to be pursuing a deal and had a British record £120 million being turned down earlier in the summer. Newcastle remain reluctant to sell their star striker despite his ongoing temper tantrum and still demand a fee of £150 million. Speaking on the Overlaps Stick to Football podcast, Arsenal legend Wright has weighed in on the situation, branding Isak's conduct as shocking. Wright said, "It doesn't look good. The behavior? It's kind of shocking. It's shocking behavior. I don't know what's happened with his agent. I don't know if his agent hasn't done the job properly. I don't know what it is, and if Liverpool were going to get him, go and pay the £150 million. I agree with Jamie Carragher. Liverpool told what it must do with Alexander Isak's transfer. Alexander Isach is seemingly desperate to join Liverpool from Newcastle United before the summer transfer window closes, but he would command a huge transfer fee. Alexander Isach wants to join Liverpool. Dietmar Hamann agreed with Jamie Carragher after the former Liverpool centre-back told his old club that it should not pay around $200 million to sign Alexander Isach. Isach is desperately trying to force a move away from Newcastle, having apparently told the Northeast club that he has no intention of ever playing for it again. The Sweden international is keen to move to Liverpool before the transfer window closes, so much so that he has moved out of the home he has been renting in Newcastle. Last month, Isach ruled himself out of Newcastle's pre-season tour of China, and upon his return to the club's training ground last week, he was ordered to train alone. It feels like a long road back now for Isach to revive his Newcastle career, and it is absolutely clear that the player currently has no intention of doing that anyway. Liverpool saw a bid of £110 million, $150 million, for Isach swiftly rejected earlier this month, with Newcastle said to value Isach at closer to £150 million, $204 million. There is little chance that Liverpool will go that high, but it is possible that the two teams will meet somewhere in the middle before the window closes. Carragher said last week that he didn't want Liverpool to spend over $200 million on Isach. It will be an amazing signing, but from a Liverpool fan point of view, I don't want the club to spend £150 million on Isach, Carragher said on the Overlap. I could probably imagine that he was Liverpool's #1 target, but there's something about Liverpool buying a striker, Ekitike, for £80 million, and he's a backup. There's something about it that doesn't sit right to me. Dietmar Hamann doesn't want Liverpool to pay over $200 million for Alexander Isach. Speaking to casino sites, Hamann agreed with Carragher. He said, "I think Liverpool have made their intentions clear now. If they can agree on a fee, they'll probably have to take Alexander Isach, because I always feel if things go public, you can't leave the player hanging. I think it'll be very hard for Isach to go back to Newcastle now. Even if he doesn't join Liverpool, they've got to find a way of trying to integrate him back into the team. I suppose he will end up with Liverpool, Isach, but how are they going to play then? That remains to be seen. I wouldn't pay £150 million. I agree with Jamie Carragher. I think £150 million is a spicy price tag for him. He's a very good player. We know he can score goals in the Premier League, but I wouldn't mind if Liverpool start the season with a Kitiki up top.